rise, we rise with you. Let me rise, we rise with you. In education, information, entertainment, and promotion. The voice of many voices, rise the choice over many choices. Promoting equity, equality, rise standard equality. The voice of many voices, rise the choice over many choices.
We keep it light. You're listening to Rise Radio on 96.3 FM.
Every week, the issues, events, situations, and situations of public interest occur, and as they do, they are not being let under the carpet at all. They've been captured in the print and other forms of the media relating to human rights, health, education, the economy, you name it. Indisputably, some of the stories attract more attention than the others. Those could be referred to as top stories. So again, this morning we are here asking about the top stories of the week in Sierra Leone and how much do we understand the issues around them. Well, it's fine you are with us here already. My name is Musa Baisise, and this is the top stories on Rise Radio 96.3 FM, where we use critical but impartial eyes to look at top stories of the week in Sierra Leone. Welcome. The program brings you views of political analysts, social and or media commentators, rights campaigners, among very many others, all in a bid to make much sense of the big stories of the week. Therefore, my analysts on the program today are Dr. Alex Bangura, among other things, a geopolitical analyst. Doctor, good morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning, MES. Good morning, listeners. It's a pleasure being here.
A colleague, journalist, Alfie Barry, and media analyst as well. Alfie, it's been a while. Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure being here. Thank you.
And as well, today we have Desmond Darlington Sula Sogbo, a social commentator. Himself is engaged in some other things. Good morning, Desmond.
And good morning to you and good morning to listeners out there.
So, listener, like always, you yourself can add your voice through your messages or calls to the number 077963963077963963. I also want to remind you that you can as well watch us live on our Facebook page at Riseradiosl 96.3 FM. Equally, you can do likewise on our YouTube channel, the same at Riseradiosl 96.3 FM. Or better still, you can follow us through www.riseradio.sl, supported by AfriCell. Feel extra free to share your thoughts with us regarding the stories we are discussing today. As usual, a lot of stories would happen in the week, but we'll have to focus on a few of them just so we would be able to delve much more into those stories. So let's start off with this story on the satellite newspaper's publication of the 2nd July, saying, as President Bill makes new assignments, Dr. Emmanuel Gaima, former running mates and others assigned. I think we saw that list, earlier this week. Doctor, you've seen that list. What comes to mind when you saw that?
Well, it's about confidence building on the part of President Bio. He's communicating something to the public that he is in control, he's in charge, and that having to do with his government in continuity, and for obvious reasons. So therefore, he's appointed, ambassadors, and including that of Dr. Gaima, who was serving in the committee as co-chair representing the government of Sierra Leone. and he's replaced Dr. Sandi, and Dr. Sandi has gone
As press secretary,
commissioner, yes, to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whereas Gaima is now the newly appointed press secretary. Perhaps he's done the work President Bio was expecting him to do in accordance with what they've agreed upon. So therefore, he's been compensated, perhaps of his professionalism that I wouldn't want to comment further because the process is on course. And again, supposedly, he's done something well for the government. So therefore, he's been compensated to serve in that capacity. The president, I don't want to use this word, much been used in his wisdom. I could remember those days, Alpha Khan. The president in his wisdom, therefore, is appointed.
And he's exercising one of his powers as a president, so hire and fire.
Of
like
course, yes. Yes, that comes with his executive powers, to hire and fire. But this time along, Sandi has been promoted as ambassador, and there are other names, on that list. So it communicates something in conclusion to the public that President Bio is confident in whatever he's doing and he's communicating. And there is a say, I think, by, Caesar, that power is taken, it is not given. So we've got to understand that. Perhaps we'll talk on that more, on power and power dynamics when it comes to the tripartites.
Okay, and then, so let me hear your thoughts, Darlington, before going to Barry. Really, so Dr. Gaima is, well, should I say, was part of the committee, tripartite committee, and now he's been appointed, to serve as the press secretary, and the former press secretary is now, the ambassador to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Does that mean that Dr. Gaima has done so well within the tripartite committee that has led him being promoted or appointed to serve as a press secretary?
Yes, one would say that because he was representing the government, not the two political parties. He was representing the government, and for the president and the nation and international community seeing the tripartite end in some of a peaceful way, I think that's a big compensation, because at the end of the day, he was appointed based on personal rapport or personal relationship with the president to serve in that committee. And then he did what the president wanted him to do at that particular time. So at the end of the day, the tripartite is finished. And then let me give you what I promised, perhaps behind the scene. And it's so close, just I think days after the tripartite recommendation or something,
Yes.
and then the list. So one will see this is something like a compensation, because if it should have been a month after, maybe we'll think another thing, but just days in between. And but again, it's good because we need new breed. You understand? People have served, they have done what they're supposed to do, whether it be fail or good. But at the end of the day, we need new breed around the scene to see how best they can able to give fresh advice, see things from a different perspective. And so appointing these people, I think 8 appointees and 2 women among, it sounds a little bit not fair enough, but better, because some of us were expecting 3 or 4, you understand? Women. Because we need to shift. To be honest with you, when we talk about corruption, the men are more into corruption than the women. So for me, I'm that kind of guy that say we need to encourage women coming forward, you understand, to see how best they can able to change the perception of what we are thinking. I'm not supporting women to be like this, but we need to give them the space, because just take in terms of past governments or history, which tells you that when you talk about corruption or mismanagement, it finds it more in men than women. So the government needs to take that into consideration when appointing people of key positions, because The government is appointing women, but not on key position to that level.
Okay.
So people need to understand is there are appointees for women, but not in that level. But Gaima has done very well. It's a compensation, and just days after, for me, personally, it's a compensation.
Okay, that's exactly where I will actually let Barry to come in. I mean, for Desmond, it's like compensating him for the fact that he's just coming around just when the committee's work has ended, but also he has the concern that more women would have been appointed.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and I'm happy to be here, Musa. Always fantastic being in the midst of my colleagues. In the first place, I want to toe the line of all of, want to toe the line that it is way within the prerogative of His Excellency to appoint and hire and fire. That is his powers. But if you look at the positions that have been appointed, 10, these are ambassadors and high commissioners. So basically, they are president in other countries. So they are basically, when you're in Ghana as a citizen, you are under the jurisdiction of these people. So they are very important. So it's crucial that you appoint people with pedigree, with diplomatic prowess and finesse. You need to be a diplomat because you are dealing with other countries. So you as an ambassador, you are basically the president of Sierra Leone in another person's country. About Dr. Gaima, I think he has proven to be a real pauper soldier. He has been loyal to His Excellency the President. And indeed, I remember he was in charge of governance in the State House.
Yeah.
But also, what I think has happened is the fact that, and I agree, he has been compensated because of the role he has played as a co-chair. I mean, if you look at Dr. Gaima, he's a political scientist, all-rounder, highly brilliant when it comes to politics. And I can tell you, after the tripartite, with all the gimmicks and machinations and conspiracy theory, I can tell you that the SLPP came out of the tripartite relatively unscathed. And you can put most of that at the desk of Dr. Gaima, the way and manner he was able to meander his way through the process. At least SLPP is intact, the government still is intact, as opposed to the unrealistic expectations that were there. So people are saying that Dr. Gaima really played their role, but also you must understand the power of incumbency. You are in government, so sometimes you call the shot. So maybe after that, the president is just rewarding him that you are very loyal. You need to be closer to me, because remember, when you are the secretary to president, you are literally the liaison between you and the president. You see the president on a daily basis.
You have that kind of direct
And
connection with the
interestingly,
president.
the man that was there, Dr. Sandy, who used to be the secretary to president, in fact, he's the one that signed his own appointment to be an ambassador or high commissioner in Nigeria. So for me, on the whole, they have compensated Dr. Gaima as a true pauper soldier, as a true loyal to SLPP, as a true loyalty to His Excellency the President. But it's very important. As of now, if you use a lot of analysis, I can tell you that we have two forms of SLPP. SLPP is divided as of now, but you will not know because they're in government. That is what happens even when APC was. The division will not come up because as of now, the power of incumbency is holding them together. State resources are there, appointments are there. But this will unravel. And I will tell you, His Excellency, the President, is suspicious about a lot of some of the SLPP members. That's why you are seeing a lot of them that you used to see 5 years ago. They are now backbenchers. So Dr. Gaima has proven to be a man that will support His Excellency the President at all costs. So why can't you bring the most loyal people closer to you? Because politics is all about loyalty. If you don't trust someone, you don't really believe that he or she will deliver on the campaign promise.
So you started on a very good foot in that those are very important positions. I mean, those people are serving as presidents of the Sierra Leone Republic, of those countries. And then, could it then be that it would have to be a matter of competence rather than matter of you being loyal to me as a person or as a loyalist party member?
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. You have to be competent, but also you have to be loyal. I mean, President Bio will never appoint Tiasane to be an ambassador in Ghana. It's impossible. Or Lansana Doumbia. Because he doesn't believe in the vision of the SLPP. So there's always this thought in Africa, and this is bad for Africa. For me, there's nothing wrong for you to have a government of national unity. Give people opportunity to serve. But in Sierra Leone or Africa, our politics is so toxic. The moment you are in opposition, you will be there until you come to power. It's a winner-take-all mentality in Sierra Leone. So for me, it's all about loyalty. It's all about... But competence comes in. But the number one thing that the president will consider, even if you are in shoes, is you being really a believer of the vision of the government. In terms of loyalty, you have to be unbridledly loyal. That is very important. You cannot joke with that. In fact, sometimes loyalty will trump even competence. We have seen a lot of square pegs in round holes. And remember, when you say square peg, not me saying as somebody no go school. We have people that have PhD, but they are still square pegs in round holes. Doctor,
Yeah, well, and cohesion, because I would like to stream in from that point.
Okay.
When we're talking about loyalty, you're talking about also performance or performance appraisal. What about cohesion? It's necessary. We've heard Bintumani 1, 2, and 3. And we should progress beyond Bintumani 1, 2, and 3. Every and then we're talking about peace. We're talking about peace. But we're not moving forward. So it's high time we concentrated on cohesion. And again, he made a salient point in terms of competence. Yeah. Again, they are representing CLU now there. Can we use this platform or some other time to see on performance appraisal, to see how we assess those who are representing?
I do agree.
Yes, our
I do
country.
agree.
Perhaps you want to
I hope we
stream
have a
in.
special
What
program
have they
on that.
come?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I agree with what Doc is saying. This about performance appraisal is very difficult. Government is not doing it. Here comes civil society.
And not too
If
far
we
ago,
have
not
journalists-
too long ago, the chief minister actually signed the performance contract with the ministers.
those
But what's
performance contracts being made public, they need to be. You need to put them on public for the public to give a judgment, a perception about what actually the chief minister signed. To be honest with you, we have so many ambassadors and they are paid well. They are paid very, very well. But what are they doing? What are they bringing in to the nation? Because by and large, we are donor-driven countries. You understand? 90% of our resources is based on fund. You understand? But what you being a representative, you being a president, for example, in China, what are you marketing to China for China to invest in Sierra Leone? So we need to check these people. I agree with Doc 100%. And performance is something that is lacking. But this, what Barry was saying is correct. Loyalty. That is where we are missing in Africa. You understand? You don't need to employ me based on loyalty. You need to employ me based on qualification,
And
what I can
performance.
do. You understand? That is why international job is very different. You understand? You can have your PhD, but what takes you along, one, is based on experience.
Absolutely.
Experience is what
Your track
takes
record
you.
should
You
be-
understand? So we need to change this dimension because he said we have Bintumani 1, 2, we have so many documents we have signed. But are those documents actually actualizing in the life of the people? This tripartite is very fantastic. But are these recommendations going to be incorporated for the well-being of everybody? That's the big
Well,
question we
come in
should be
there.
asking ourselves.
Then in conclusion on that, now I'm streaming in from Omri Goli. You know, Omri Goli was with the RUFP and he
Yes.
was incarcerated. And when President Nkrumah came, and he was able to see how he settled the issue. And according to source, that Omri Goli asked the president to appoint him as ambassador extraordinary
Yes,
to
yes.
Korea, that he will bring something. And it's evidence, the Freetown City Hall, the new building. So that is what we are looking at, my colleague panelists here.
And
we'll see
Musa,
its
quick one
evidence.
on this performance appraisal. I think it is different for the chief minister to have to sign a performance appraisal. But I will tell you, there's a lot of, it lacks transparency and openness. So, for example, if you want to assess the Ministry of Health, how they've gone about their business, you can set short-term, medium, and long-term goals. But how do you go about, what is the monitoring mechanism that you have? We don't know that. You can sign something, but what is the monitoring mechanism to ensure that the Ministry of Health you meet your benchmark in the short, medium, and long term? And I will tell you about these ambassadors. Just press attaché, journalists will come in. They are being paid $7,000 per month. Press attaché. I'm not talking about the ambassador, please. $7,000 per month.
You
That's what
should
I'm being
not call
paid.
that one. This is
No,
with their family will be
no,
thinking.
no, come on,
No,
let's
but that's
talk.
the fact.
So because I'm just talking about the president attaché.
Yeah,
so I'm
we
not
know.
talking about the ambassador. So you are being paid well for you to be investors in sailing.
Yes.
But assess the ambassadors over the past 15, 20
The point
years.
Barry is making really is that these people
Yes.
are really,
There's no value for money.
highly paid.
Highly
No,
paid,
yeah,
but
they're highly
they are
paid.
not bringing a lot in this country. Some money go there for go chill. So that is why
So
sometimes
some are
when-
working beside what they are there for.
Their
I
own
know
business,
some are
their
working.
personal
and
business.
I
They
tell
are
you,
working. They are
Musa,
regular staff
that
of
is
their
why I
business.
said
I know.
when you assess competence in the diplomatic world, really, when you are a diplomat, you need to have the diplomatic finesse. For example, how do you adopt a strategy for you as an ambassador to sit with Vladimir Putin in the room?
Yes.
High power like Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer in room, how do you market Sierra Leone in front of those world leaders? How do you convince them when Keir Starmer has over 150 countries in his head? How do you convince him to come and invest in Sierra Leone? That is why you need to have the diplomatic finesse. So there's a different ball game for you to appoint a PhD holder to be a diploma because you think it's a benchmark. But there's also another different ball game for the president to have the experience, the exposure, and the track record, integrity to convince investors to come to Sierra Leone.
Yes,
Okay,
it
I
has
would
to
think
do with diplomacy,
the
foreign
last part.
relations,
Yeah.
diplomacy, foreign relations, and also investment, how you drive investment to your country. And also you can also cater as well for scholarship and a whole lot.
Exactly.
Okay, the program is the Top Stories on Rise Radio 96.3 FM. If you've just joined us, we are reviewing some top stories of the week in Sierra Leone as captured in the print media, but also those in public domain. I am Musa by Sise, my analyst for this edition of the program. Of course, I have Dr. Alex Bangura, among other things, he's a geopolitical analyst, Alfie Barry, journalist and media analyst, and Desmond Darlington Solar Sogbo, a social commentator. So let's look at another story quickly. There is this story that's made news this week that the launch of what they call Combra app, they call it pre-track, press track rather, and to track the pregnant women across the country using technology. And it's something done by the Ministry of Health. I think somehow the country is also moving, along the line. I mean, with technology as the other parts of the world are actually, other countries are moving along. Somehow, I think we also need to tap the back of all of those that's actually making it happen. Because there were times back in the past we could not actually remember or think of having such apps now coming in. Now there is a app now they've developed to track pregnant women, the progress of their treatment and all of that, but also with a specific focus on reducing maternal mortality. Let me start with you, Darlington.
Well, for me, from a general perspective, it's a very good initiative. No doubt about it, very good initiative. I think the world is fast moving in technology, and that being said, we as a nation we should go that way, you understand, to see how best we can able to incorporate and lessen the burden of individuals, you understand, because once technology is being introduced, it gives you the laxity, you understand, to get what you want at a very short period of time. But again, when I watch the news, listen, and then I do few calls with colleague journalists around the country, then I ask myself, how established is Ministry of Health and Sanitation? How established? What do I mean by how established? Do we have a referral center in Kafubulom, in Alkelia, in Konibaya, in Sinkodria? Do we have? No. You understand? So again, the challenges will be, it will just center in the big towns. You understand? Everything will center in both, for example, in Kono Kwedu, to be specific, Kwedu and its surrounding. It will be in Makeni town. You understand? But what about the pregnant women 10 miles off, 20 miles off? How can you track those people? So for me, it's good. But what I think they should have done first is to make sure that all those community hospitals have the facility. The facility needs to be there. There needs to be an easy accessible way from this village to the hospital. You understand? So once a pregnant woman is in Sinkodia, it can access the hospital within the space. There must be an ambulance. Go to the provinces. I've been all over the over 122 chiefdom. There are many chiefdom without ambulance. How can you track that? How can these pregnant women in the remote community come to the hospital? In fact, they use this amok or something. They call amoka or something. Amok, something to put pregnant women. How can you track that? So the thing we are missing, let's forget about the facelift of certain things. We are just marketing the facelift. Just in Freetown, see the facelift, we launch this, is good. But check after 1 month or 6 months after the launching, if you can ever heard about it. So we need to change. Let's fix what is needed before you launch. It's very good to launch it, but again, when this thing is being launched, go now to Kabbalah, go to Putlock or Cambia if they knows about it. If have you educate the pregnant women? If you want to do it, use the media. You understand? Use local media, use social media, use bloggers. Market for the people to understand. This is what we want to do, and this is the benefit of it. But you just launch without marketing. How can people go to register? How can I access it now? For example, where can I go and register? Myself, I do not know.
Maybe
so
this is
as
just the
educated
starting
as I
point
am,
by
but
launching
what about
it.
the uneducated women? How can they know?
Doctor, I could remember, I mean, speaking before coming on here, you were actually saying things similar to what Sola was saying, that thinking about those in rural communities, how would this app actually be able to help them in order for them to be tracked as pregnant women? You know, let me just hear your thoughts regarding
Yes,
that.
we're looking at public education. He mentioned as a brilliant point, he referenced on it, and how can we be able to allow this to sink down to those who have not attained formal education? Because that's where the issue is. It's not about launching program. We are good at launching program, but the question is the how factor. And he mentioned public education, which is important. It's no news that the world is moving out to the digital age, considering AI, and the space should be created. But again, it has to do with the how factor. How can we be able to achieve this? The pregnancy registration and service tracking application, which is the press track. And according to them, is to monitor well-being to help reduce the mortality rates in the country. And they say, according to the United Nations, the maternal mortality ratio has decreased from almost 1,700 per 100,000 live births during the country's civil war years. And by 2018, it was now 717 per 1,000 live births. And now in 2023, it has dropped to 443 per 100,000 births. And according to the chief minister, targeting 2038, that it will be zero. But again, is how. There are a number of activities that we are to take into consideration. Public education is important, is needed, and how you get nurses and others involved in the process in terms of tracking it. And according to the ratio, the rate here on our illiteracy rates, we understand, I don't know whether we've progressed or not, it was 70%. So I don't know now. And in terms of using technology, accessing technology with pregnant women, how will they be able, especially in rural places, my brother mentioned, and even, the urban settings, not all are conversant with applications. Is important, though they said it's often online process. So the need to be able to put the activities into perspective and breaking down so that we can understand on how not only to go after perhaps funds being set aside by the United Nations and other international finance institutions, not limited to that. Not only the launching of the activity, but the how factors, the number of activities will generate in order to achieve this. It's something we need to take into consideration. And in terms of that lactating mother, it's not limited to that and how to monitor them. Another aspect, again, there is hungry in the country. And food plays a significant role in terms of helping them to be healthier. So that we must take into consideration. Perhaps Alfie may want to stream.
Exactly. I think we should hear from him now.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, I was part of that launch, the Combra app. It's very revolutionary. But again, let me just demystify some very important aspects so that we will understand. So when you say maternal mortality, pancreas fambule, what do you mean? Now, we're picking them, they die before they attain the age of 5 years. So sometimes then the mommy they go for go born hospital, then the pikin they die or the mommy they die. That is the figures that Dr. Bangura has given, and we have made remarkable gains in reducing that. In fact, it used to be over 1,000 per every 100,000 baht.
Yeah.
Now it is at 443, and very soon I will tell you, the Ministry of Health will announce in the next couple of months that it has even been reduced further. So we are aiming at reducing that by 2030 to 70 and possibly to eradicate. So we don't want to see Pikin the die inside mommy in belly again. That's the aim. And the Ministry of Health, they have what they call life stages. So what is life stages? This is a situation in which the government will ensure that they provide universal health care. Universal health care for the mother and the child from conception to birth. So when the mommy don't get belly, they ensure say you belly with the palm, you don't get any complications. Till you born, till you begin grow up, you reach 5 years, you begin go school. That is what the government is aiming to do. And I will also tell you that Sierra Leone, as of now, we have both the primary and secondary health care. So the primary health care, and then hospital in the community, na Badigo, na Bo, na Kenema, the community hospital. So Sierra Leone has made remarkable gains in an area in which every 5 miles radius, there is at least there is one community health center. So that is the international best practice. So every 5 miles, at least you go meet up one hospital. But the problem here is, you might have the hospital, but what are they equipped enough? Medicine and needy. Are the doctors well trained? That is the missing link that the Ministry of Health is working towards. So not just having a physical building, which is all over the place. I mean, you go in the community, at least you go get small Osway hospital there. But you get medicine in there, you get doctors in there, you get nurses in there. Are they well equipped? How less expensive are they? That's the problem. Now, we have the tertiary part of it. That's the referral hospitals in Sierra Leone. So we have Connaught. We have the one for the Pekin and Eastern. The PCMH. But we get more government hospital in Kenema. So these are the hospitals that are referral hospitals. They look at complicated cases. So for the operation, for the surgeries. That also we need to improve on that because we need to have them in almost every city. So now the government has launched the pediatric hospital at Lumley. Cost over $20 million. Very sophisticated. Now, these are some of the gains that we have made in the healthcare sector. So this Combra app that has been launched, it has twofold. You can use it both online and offline. And it is user-friendly. Even if you don't go back to school, it's a user. So what you basically do, in fact, this is the pilot phase. So they have piloted this in 40 communities and they've registered 11,000 pregnant women. So what really happens in Sierra Leone is, we have seen a situation in which we get some women that get belly and born, they don't go hospital. They don't go for maternal and new health because of poverty. That is the problem. So what this app is going to do is, it is going to provide impressive information to healthcare providers. So for example, if Mami Yebu, where in Amoriton, don't register the app, and it's very simple. You can do offline, you can even register through text message. When you open the app, which I've seen, you will register your name. And in this app, they've already captured all the hospitals in Sierra Leone. So the moment you put your address to say, if you have Badigo, they tell you there's a Badigo hospital. There. Yeah, they show you the one thing. So what this does is, if you do the Bella woman don't register, you name, you don't put, because they don't ask you basic information, you name, you this, you that, everything, where you put them, it goes on the system. So the moment you get any complication, the app, they flag them up, and they send them. That almost all the major hospitals in Sierra Leone say, Mami Yebu, in Belém, in this Pahato. So what basically it does is, the app flags up high-risk issues, and it ensures that because the salon, so they get complications, instead of going to hospital, they go to a doctor. So automatically, you don't register this app. If you begin at 1 o'clock in the morning, your hospital will be in the community, and they register it. So this app, Musa, is very revolutionary, and I'm quite optimistic about the app. And this is the good aspect of the app. And they are aiming to ensure that this app goes every part of Sierra Leone in 18 months. So under 2 years, almost every Kumbana salon for register Padandi. You know what this brings to the table? So for example, even the Minister of Health can sit, or even the Chief Minister or President Bio, in fact, President Bio is going to be at the back end of the app. So for example, if President Bio is in the office, he say, Kenema, this particular Kenema alone, woman they die too much when they Pambele. Automatically you will send state resources to that particular area where you have a lot of mothers that are dying. So this is the beauty about this app. But for me, you can have this app and it is good. You can have you can have all what you need about the app. But how far have we gone? I'm a journalist, you can talk about the good aspect. How far have we gone as a country to ensure that this mommy, when you go to this community hospital, what at least a better medicine, Nurse, they don't know where nurse, they pay them better. So get some nurse, then they work at 3 different hospitals. You will never know how this country is bad when it comes to nurses. It's when you get emergency case around 2 o'clock in the morning. So nurse they left, it get past 2-3 hospitals they work. In the left government hospital, you go to private hospital. Because then they pay well, but they work for government hospital. So when you go there, you will not meet them. So there are times you go to hospital. My uncle, just 3 weeks ago, he was having an emergency. So we went to one hospital. They said, Doctor Nodi, you don't go work on a side. So how would we ensure we equip this primary health care first? Not the basic one first. Law ensures that if the mommy get complication, it get the requisite really healthcare delivery way you need. That is the missing link. So you might launch the app, but if the hospitals are not well equipped to handle these issues, it will become a problem. But what the good thing the app is going to bring is, it's going to bring the problem to the fore, to decision makers. So the minister will see the problem, the government will see the problem. How do they solve it is a different ballgame. But at least the problem will not go underground. At least people will see the problem. That's the app. That's what the app is bringing. So the app will bring information when normally they can shelve at the corner.
May I have some
Okay.
No.
Just
After
30 seconds each. We have to move on to
observation?
another story.
Yes, on that. Alfie is making a good PR for the ministry.
I'm just speaking what I saw, my brother.
No, I
Okay,
think
there are a few
it's good he said those things, so we know better how the app will actually function.
Okay, he mentioned a few things. One, having to do with condition of service for these nurses and medical personnel.
That's the problem
that
also.
we must take into consideration. I mentioned inter alia training for those concerned, especially at the referral centers. And he also mentioned how equipped are those referral centers in terms of equipment as well as medicines. And we're talking about electronics medicine. Are we ready for that? Yes. And if so, the how factor. My uncle is a medical practitioner. Yesterday we had lengthy discourse on it, and he was saying that he's still really ready for electronics medicine yet. And that's a point again. And how equipped are those referral centers in terms of rapid response, their team, rapid response team? And one of the things we should take into consideration having to do with salary and conditions of service. We've seen instances wherein you know that how much a nurse is paid or medical personnel, and an ugly scenario also at the PCMH some couple of months ago, which led to the relief of the medical superintendent or being transferred somewhere, is another issue we've got to take into consideration. All of this is good on the digital age, on electronics, medicine, and a whole lot. But again, is the how factor. How do we go about doing all of this? And of course, we've been hearing millions of dollars coming for those programs, failing to take into consideration condition of service. And even when we're talking about performance contracts, signing performance contracting with government, ministers, departments, and agencies is not limited to that, but who do the dirty work. That's the staff.
All right, quick, Darlington.
Yeah, I will take from what Doctor is saying, and Barry mentioned some few good things, and not good things, what he saw actually, let me correct. But again, the reason
So
I
are they not good things?
well, I just
According to Barry, what he saw.
I want to. My point is, and I've been in this country since I was born, and I've seen things. I've been all over this country, the 14th district. I've seen things when it comes in terms of medical issues. You understand, which is very, very pathetic. You understand. And no matter the mechanism we put, no matter the technology we bring, if we miss the foundation, we can never succeed. Take it or leave it. It's just like education. When the service is not conducive for the service provider, you will never get a good service. So 30%, I stand to be corrected, but 30% of these nurses are volunteers. Do not have PIN codes. You understand? So they talk to patient the way they want. They behave the way they want. They give flimsy remarks the way they want. You understand? Sometimes when you go to a hospital, you feel terrible because the way they talk to you, it pains you because you are in a position whether you are going to live or die. So what is the responsibility of the nurse? Is to handle that situation professionally. But after schooling, are they trained on a relationship with patients. No, after schooling they just go to work. But 30% are volunteers. How do you expect volunteers to give 100% service? They cannot. So if you go now to Satellite Hospital, for example, you know, even whether you're under 5, they will ask you to pay registration fees, which is 10 or 50,000. I can't remember the last time. So that is why I stop. I prefer go private hospital, no matter the cost.
Exactly.
You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
But the service is good. But this is not for us. What about the lane individual? You understand? So the government, if you want to achieve the Comgrap or whatever you are doing, the donor, listen, we have the resources. This money are in place. But how do we use it? Go to the hospital, no generator, you understand? Satellite. Without NPA is just taking electricity anyhow, etc. You understand? These are lines that should be personal lines. They are for all hospitals. They should have 24-hour electricity. Absolutely. So you need to start from the basic before you go to this Comgrab. So we are missing a lot of things. So for us to achieve that basic, that goals, it will be very difficult if we cannot measure the basic properly.
All right, listener, you're listening to the top stories on Rise Radio 96.3 FM, reviewing some top stories of the week in the country. I have my reviewers today on the program. Dr. Alex Bangura, among other things, is a geopolitical analyst, Alfie Barry, journalist and media analyst, Desmond Darlington Sola Sogbo, whom you've just listened. He's a social commentator. He's as well a journalist, by the way. The program continues. I am Musa Baisise. So we'll have to skip a story here. Let's move on to the story of the day, actually. So 80 full recommendations from the Tripartite Committee are out. Let me first hear from you guys your general thoughts when you saw these recommendations, coming out. I don't know. Let me start with you, Barry, in this case. The 80 recommendations, were these ones were they the ones you were expecting? Are you seeing? What's your general perception about the recommendations, really, first?
Thank you very much. Thank you. A very interesting point. I have a lot of reservation about, in fact, the Tripartite Committee. So, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I thought I've made this on your program, on previous programs. So for me, I was having problems in the first place with the constitution of the Tripartite, the setup. So for me, it was not all inclusive. So I asked this question on my program yesterday. I say, the Tripartite Committee, is it a win for Sierra Leone? I will tell you, it is not really more of a win for Sierra Leone, but a win for APC and SLPP. So the right manner in which it was set up, in the first place, they brought in SLPP, APC, and the international partners, and they left out over 12 other political parties. We have almost 13, 14 political parties in Sierra Leone. And also, I will also tell you that because the Tripartite Committee, when they were going about their business, there was lack of communication. No communication. We are kept in the dark, even as journalists. In fact, it gave rise to a lot of conspiracy theory, misinformation and disinformation. So that is why, because they were not communicating, people misconstrued the whole concept, the terms of reference of the Tripartite. Make it say, "Rewon get for happen, this get for happen." So people thrived on that. So for me, that was the missing link in the first place. You should have brought in the civil society. You bring in the media. It's very important to bring in the media. At least you have a director for...
and the rest of the other registered political parties.
And political parties should also be represented. In APA, they have their own division, and COP, because they are divided now. APA, they have some parties, and COP.
Is COP still existing? It's been a while I've not heard of that.
No, they are still part of it, but maybe they will come out very soon. But for me, aside from that lacuna that I've highlighted, I think if you look at the 8 recommendations, and it is over a 500-page report, which I'm still reading, but if you look at the abridged version of it, they made some fantastic recommendations, which I think, and I put the conditional statement, if effectively implemented, if there's political will to implement some of the recommendations, at least it will put to end the vicious circle of political injustice. Because the reason why, in fact, the Tripartite was formed in the first place is because we have problems with our electoral system. That is sacrosanct. So our elections have been problematic from 2007. Even started from 2002, but because then we don't know, we are not seeing the missing link. But from 2007 to date, we're having problems with our elections. And I don't want us to be fixated just about the ECSL. The problem is not just about the ECSL. It is the broader problem about our election management bodies, the EMBs, the NCRA, the PPRC, the Sierra Leone Police, the security forces, our House of Parliament, the judiciary also. These are all players that will make elections to become bad. But also we're having problems with our election laws, electoral laws, because there are some laws that they conflict with the national constitution, and we all know any law where it conflicts with the national constitution, the law become null and void. So if you look at the 8 recommendations that were made, very good recommendations were made, and I really want to see how far they can go in implementing this process. Because you might make all these fantastic recommendations, but if there is no political will to implement these recommendations, I just exercise the futility. Because if you lie,
which you've actually had that, the president himself receiving the reports actually made it clear that he's committed to implementing, fully implementing the recommendations.
How about, how about the Justice Kawan in continuing review process? Up until now, the APC watch them, they left and they ignore SLPP. And do you know that the process is still going on? On a kuku jumku business, na sumu business. So Salon, we're very good for make political statement, but how do we go about following it to the latter? But I will talk you through 1 or 2 recommendations that I've just looked at. Some of them are very good. So for example, recommendation 1. Now, they're instructing the ECSL in 3 months for them to come up with a policy. And the policy need to be in public domain. So you know, say during when election they come, the ECSL form the PPL, the political party liaison committee, yes. PPSL, yeah. Mm-hmm. So all political parties for adopt policies and rules how for govern the election within themselves. Now the committee is now recommending that this particular policy should be made public. Not for just between political parties. And if we put on the website and all Salomon for know what's in the policies around governing the election, aside from the election laws in itself. But why I said this recommendation is more about SLPP and APC. Look at recommendation 70 before my colleagues come in. Recommendation 70, they say SLPP and APC don't agree. Say now, for any party for contest election 2 consecutive basis. So, for example, if you contest for councillor, a member of parliament, mayor, president, you contest 2 consecutive times. If you don't win, you should be deregistered. So is it a win for other parties? It's just a win for SLP and APC. So basically what we are doing is, if this is put through, that we are going to be heading for 2-party system. So they don't agree now, say for example, RFP, you contest for honorable 1 term, you lost 2 terms for the registered RFP party. It goes against multi-party democracy. It is so bad and so dangerous what that particular clause is saying, that you deregister parties. Because you know why? There are some parties, and me are concerned about some parties and they're really not fit for purpose. That I can tell you. But there are some parties that will never win election. But they are formed out of ideology or philosophy. So for example, the RFP, it was born out of revolution. There are some parties in England, like the Green Party, that are just for environment. So if you debar them, you are debarring some voices that are supposed to be part of the political discourse. So that is what I'm saying. The recommendations is a win for more the APC and SLPP. I will rest my case
generally, Darlington, what's your perception about the 80 recommendations? I mean, we have to actually be specifically looking at certain recommendations, but let's look at it in an overview. Holistically.
For me, to be honest with you, this recommendation is stage managed, the tripartite. Very stage managed, yeah? How? Let me tell you, the government was afraid of getting the pressure from the opposition. So what they did, they're going to buy agreement. Let's do this to satisfy the public. As my colleague said, we have laws that have been in the paper since 1965, the Public Order Act. Up till now, they are not implemented. They are just laws, you understand? In a country, let me say this before I continue, in a country where laws are governed by people, that country will never be developed. Let me rephrase again. In a country where people govern the law, other than the law governing the people, that country will never develop in this world. That is why Sierra Leone and Africa...
a senior philosopher this morning.
That is why Africa, Sierra Leone is specific. We are in this position. Sierra Leone, one thing we are good at is we have the brain to create, to put good laws together. Laws that if we give it to the America, England, they will become superb.
Say, wow.
We have that knowledge. We have those people that can think beyond human. You understand? But what we lack, even though we put the laws together, we want those to control those laws. We want to be the law, not the law to be us. You understand what I'm saying? So that is why we are missing. All these 80 recommendations, they are just mere waste of resources, time management, and confusion of people mentality. those that, actually are thinking politics. You understand? He said no media was involved. Are the media not part of governance? Do we have civil society? That is another topic. You understand? For me, I don't see civil society. The religious leaders, were they involved? They were not involved. And in form of politic violence start from every aspect. You understand? People, we are seeing more of our religious leaders are more political. So once if they have been involved, you understand, try to differentiate their roles being included in the recommendation. That should have been good. Was there anything about the judiciary in the recommendation? The judiciary is another aspect that is killing this country. The parliament, the police, the military. If this institution, now, let me tell you, what they did was, as he said, now in the next 5 years, I'm still finding it difficult where I'm not seeing political parties, civil society, if we have any, to make comments. How can you, after 2 elections, to deregister party? Are we okay? Are we going in a 2-party state? So at the end of the day, if I want to form my party, you understand, my beliefs, then I lost 2 elections, which for us, for a third party to win election in Sierra Leone, we are far from it. Because we the young, our mentality is still stick into SLPP and APC. But how can my message pass if I have not given the free space to go? But the international committee, they look at it, they read it, they understand, they accept. Why? Because the money is coming from them. They are using us. So for me, all what we saw in the 80 recommendation is just for after SLPP, next election is APC, after APC is SLPP. So now look what happened in England. Look what happened in Senegal. You understand? The transition that happened. But for us as a nation, even those examples are not working for us because we just believe in writing laws. You know how many $1 million spent just 6 months?
$1.5 million.
1.5. You know how many hospitals? You know how many schools? You know how many teachers should have been better by it? But with 80 recommendations, all for just 2 people, 2 political parties. This is very frustrating for the nation.
Just before Doctor come in, just before you come in, let me just remind the listener that you can actually message and call us now on 0779639630, 0779639630 to have your thoughts on the program. But also remind that we'll have to extend the program a little bit because of obvious reasons. So the number is 0779639630. You can call us now and let's hear from you. We are reviewing some major stories of the week in Sierra Leone, and we are now looking at the major, 80 recommendations from the Tripartite Committee's report. So, Doctor, we've heard from Darlington and also Barry. I think one of the concerns that came out from their submissions is that they are seeing this more or less an issue of APC and SLPP benefiting from it rather than perhaps benefiting the general nation, but also even the political parties. Take, for instance, there is a recommendation that is saying after 2 consecutive times, if you contested and then your party did not win, then that's the end of your party. So for them, it's like we're going to a 2-party kind of state and closing the gap, the space for other, political discussions or political ideas to come up.
There is always a third force, but it all depends, and it's the situation here. One could say is watertight, and I've gone through portions of the recommendations. It is well written professionally, and of course, for whichever aspects they are dealing with, once they highlight, if it has to do with political parties, regulation commission, at the end of the day, they will put their findings and recommendations. And it has to do with the APC and SLPP in the just concluded general elections, presidential and general elections, that APC questioned credibility of the elections. So those international, institutions such as the Carter, Center, they also question credibility of the just concluded elections, and thereby APC complained the matter. So it was born out of that, the tripartite between the two parties. But it will be a win for the country as a whole when those recommendations are, implementable. They've been submitted to His Excellency the President, and we look forward to seeing that they are implementable. There are two keywords there: actionable. It should be actionable, implementable, and actionable. And it's a treaty kind of they've signed too. We will comment on that, and they're looking forward to the ECSL to provide the disaggregated data, because it's part of the TOR, so that we can move forward in a bid to preventing what has happened. One of the things we have to take into consideration is that all democracies are fragile. Therefore, the need to create peace within is of greatest importance. And if we are to comment on fragility of democracy, when elections are not conducted the way it should be done, when they're not credible, it leads to fragility of democracy. Sierra Leone is a post-conflict society. We must be mindful in all that we do. Our peace is fragile. And we're talking about fragility of democracy, having to do with what we do as a people, including those in government, is important. And ECSL, security forces, and all players concerned, to see how we consolidate the peace of this country and how we also promote the human rights of the people of this country, giving them the opportunity to vote. And I mentioned earlier that one of Caesar, there is a quote that power is taken, is not given. How? It is the people, through legitimate means, I'm talking here, that gives power, that you vote. So that it is taken from that point through legitimate means. So therefore, power is taken, is not given. When you read throughout history, and they will tell you those who have been in power, they don't easily relinquish power. So therefore, power is taken. And for us in Sierra Leone, power is taken through legitimate means, whosoever wins the elections, through the ballot boxes. So that we must take into consideration. And my colleagues here mentioned the Interreligious Council and other institutions concerned, even the judiciary. It has to do with trust. Yes, it has to do with trust and transparency, a solid, transparent, and participatory democracy with an active civil society and guaranteed rights to vulnerable groups. So again, on civil society, that has to do with that. Credibility, trust on the part of the people of this country, and even the moral guarantors. They mentioned the Interreligious Council. They were not called to be part of it because the APC frowns at them for obvious reasons, and you and I know what is happening. And in conclusion, I will tell you this, that relying upon the fact that the credibility and legitimacy of electoral processes is inextricably linked to electoral integrity. Let's underline that integrity. You know, and if we are to beginning to talk about a whole lot of issues that surrounds the elections and governance and human rights violations and electoral incidences as we have on that document. So we begin to question that. But again, when we look at the structure of the tripartite, there's a portion for that on, for the secretary, but nothing of the sort for media to communicate to the people. So we're in obscurity. We are left in that position. We will not know. It in darkness because we now get an appropriate channel. We will communicate activities of the tripartites to the people. Then I will conclude on that when we're looking at the choice of and design of electoral administration,
Okay.
it determines both the outcomes and the credibility of electoral processes and thereby trust in democracy. And the document we've seen, it addresses a whole lot of issues focusing on trust, transparency, and accountability. And we look forward in ensuring that what has been presented or submitted to His Excellency the President on two aspects to be implementable and actionable moving forward. That is what we're looking forward.
Okay. Yeah, Barry, please, just before you come in, the number for your messages is 0779639663. You can as well call us on that same number. Please stop flashing. The number is 0779639663. Let's hear your thoughts regarding the stories we are discussing here. We are looking at the 80 recommendations from the Tripartite Committee. You must have heard of them. You must have seen them possibly. Let's see, Barry, let's just give this person a chance now. Good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Mambu. I'm calling from Central Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you yourself in the studio is not doing justice to us.
How?
By condemning what has been done by the international community and the people of Sierra Leone. I think when you talk about tripartite, it means three parties. Three parties who are to be involved in this particular arrangement. That is the SAPP, APC, international community. That is the reason why they call it tripartite. Then if you are condemning the whole arrangement because judiciary and other parties you are not involved, I think you are not doing justice to us.
Okay,
Because
so
they are not supposed to be part of it.
all right, quickly, we understand very well that indeed it has to do with the three-party thing, but also their decision will have to reflect on the general country, for instance. So, I mean, whatever they might have discussed there would have also reflected in the country's interest. That's what my panelists are saying generally.
But I think what they discussed there was in the interest of Sierra Leone. The people involved in that particular arrangement are very intelligent people. They covered every sector of life in this country.
But their recommendations did not reflect that.
What?
Their recommendations did not reflect that.
It did not reflect that. Well, for some of us, we are not even seeing all the 80 points that we are recommending in that document. Until they prove them to us before ever some of us can make comment on it. We are only talking about 2 points, not the 80 points that is involved in the package. So I think some of us have to sit back and see whether we can have the chance to look at them all and make comments. But we have not seen them. We are only hearing about few of the points that is in the document. So how can we make a total judgment on that thing? In fact, we have not seen all of them.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution to the program.
Okay.
You're welcome. 0779639663. So he's of the opinion that you guys are not doing justice. That
Musa,
That is
let's
why you
establish this
talked
fact.
about involving the media.
Let's
That is the
establish
point.
this fact.
The
It's
media
very
should have
important.
been involved.
It's very important for us to know this. That for example, for me, I'm not damning the whole process. I think this process has the tendency, really, if it is implemented, to really solve most of the problems when it comes to election. So, for example, they are recommending that the Chief Justice now will have to develop rules on how to file in petitions for elections. So there seem to be, and they are recommending, some recommendations, in fact, requires that we amend the national constitution. In fact, some situation we have to do even referendum, because there are some laws that conflict with election laws that requires a referendum. These are entrenched clauses. So for me, on the whole, we are not damning the process. The only thing we are having is the lack of communication and the lack of all inclusivity. And also, I'm also saying that the international community were there. What's on the left sit down where they know say, are you as international partner, you know now multi-party democracy. You left sit down, they recommend say they for debar smaller political parties because you contest 2 consecutive times. But you know why? Because the international community, they are diplomats, they don't really want to be involved. Maybe they were just on the sideline. So that is why you should have brought in civil society and the media. So you bring another voice. Because APC, SLPP, NSA win and they interest in the fala. Then they not in the poem. But if you get other voice, like civil society and the media by the process, who will not flag that up and say, no, this is not fine for you. But what APC and SLP are doing is, they are preparing the grounds for them to be dominating politics for the next 100 years. So for the next 100 years, we pick one of them, one of plan for married, a couple of come SLP and APC. And they don't want to give chance to talk for because they don't say SLP don't say I didn't bench something at 10 years APC back. So that's not they want basically do. But if civil society be there and media be there, Musa they call we. I see that they have at least raise a voice, even if they don't do it. But for the part of the record say, I raise a voice that this particular one will make is not good for democracy. Because this is a multi-party democracy for us.
So
the international community be there. They don't say it's bad. But these are diplomats. Sometimes they are just there to observe the process, not just to take part. So that is why sometimes, if I was them, I will not make the SLP and APC even co-chairs. The whole process should have been led by a credible civil society, moral guarantors, and sometimes in the years we religious leaders they can blunder, they can take sides. But not to the all. There are those that you can really look at. You bring them, those that are independent, impartial. You bring them to the process. But look at the TRC. Who lead the process? Bishop Compa, we don't like it. We make a fantastic recommendation about the TRC. So sometimes you can blast for people, but they are good people. Just like you have bad eggs in the media, bad eggs in politics, bad eggs in civil society, but they are credible civil society that you can bring to the process. Then we bring the other voice, not just the political voice, but the other voice. That is what is missing. But for me on the whole, the recommendations are fantastic. If we implement even 90% of those, 2028 election, result they come out the losing party go don't call just like
well, could we stream in an instance wherein members of civil society organizations were at State House demanding from His Excellency the President soon after the elections to be given jobs because it's questionable. Yes, I have an NGO registered with the government of Sierra Leone, and when talking on the issue of credibility in terms of civil society, we're not in good books of the people of this country.
Do we have?
I think
so. That's the issue.
Have lost that trust really generally from the public. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello?
Yeah, good morning. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Okay, go on.
My name is Johnny.
Okay.
You people keep pushing back at very brilliant things done by the tripartite committee, government, the APC party, opposition, and international community representatives. You see, we need to be appreciative. Instead of worrying, let's be jojo. Because we can't stick it on. The opposition cannot fight the government, of course, if it's coming to violence. But we don't want violence in this country. So what I think you people should be doing is to be very optic in your critique, in your criticisms. Don't be saying, okay, it is accepted. I too would have appreciated all the political parties come on board. The religious, interreligious council giving a space, and the media giving a wider coverage and sensitization role. This money share, because 1.5 million came, shared to facilitate media sensitization, interreligious bodies, going all over the country, getting it a flurry of activity must have taken place. But you see, this how can I call it? This stereotyping, always thinking we can do it all, we cannot share it, the responsibility to all, and we are Sierra Leonean, Let's not be pushing against, things that will really bring the overall peace. And we must be appreciative. Whatever initiative taken by the international community, they cannot love us more than how we should love ourselves. They are just trying. Right. It is not peculiar with us. Look at what is happening in Kenya, right?
All right. Thank you very much. I think with that call ended there. The number is 0779639630, 0779639630. So
I was on a point.
Okay.
Yeah. Having to do with that, I'm of the view that it concerns the APC and the SLPP. So therefore, what they actually, experience, the APC, thereby expressing dissatisfaction into it. They have the 7 members of that putting together their recommendations and a whole lot on their findings, what they're not happy with. And on the other part of, the government having 7 members. So at the end of the day, we need the arbitrator to come in, which is the international community, looking into all of this. And the Interreligious Council, we are expecting them to have done much more in terms of consolidating, promoting the peace and human rights of our country. But not much has been done yet. And the people of Sierra Leone are questioning, including the APC, their credibility. So in essence, they wouldn't even want them to be part of the process. I can only mention the part of the TOR, the committee itself. There is a portion for that on mandates and as well as the structure of the committee. There should have been an appropriate channel to communicate to the public. Mark you, we have the secretary to the ad hoc committee. Except you would have Dr. Kelfala Mara coming from the part of the APC, and he only communicates what they want to communicate and what the members of the APC would like to know. Also for Dr. Gaima on the part of the government. And I think you want to say something.
For me, I keep saying this on this tripartite something is planned, is stage managed to keep the people out of this whole process. You understand? Now, people need to understand the role of the international community. The international community was there to monitor their finance, not to make recommendation on our policies. You understand? We make the recommendation as a nation. You understand? Both SLP, no, not as a nation, sorry. Both SLPP and APC make the recommendation, draft it, and then the international community will go over it. But they do not have the right to say, for example, recommendation 45, which says prisoner should vote. They do not have the right to say, no, it's not supposed to be there. You understand? They monitor that the process being peaceful and the money being spent used deliciously into the process. So what is in the recommendation is from us, the APC and SLPP, not the international. So we need to understand the role of the international community here, because people are going with the idea.
The US ambassador has said that countless number of times that this is a Sierra Leonean problem and it must be solved by Sierra Leoneans. We are just there to provide an oversight.
How do this message sink to the ordinary people? That's one of your callers was asking. He has never seen the recommendation. Yeah. So that is where they should have used
appropriate channel.
So have they invited the media?
Had it not been the advent of social media, some of us would have not even seen it.
But for the US ambassador,
the media. Listen, the power of the media is bigger than the government. You understand? Let's understand it, because it's the media who made the government. People need to understand the importance of the media. When the media is against you, just say you are nowhere to be seen. You understand? So the power of the media does not need to be neglected. But what they did was to keep the media out of this conversation, because the media should have picked up certain things, you understand, bring out to the public. And then the public will start raising issues about it. And then they will take that into consideration, you understand. But once the media is out of it, the religious leader, if they should have involved the religious leader, they pass on the message to their congregation every Sunday and Friday. You understand? No, this is how referendum is being done in other parts of the world. You understand?
You include everybody. Trust and confidence. And Musa, you mentioned
we know there is lack of trust. But even though there is lack of trust, even though some
trust and confidence in them,
people have problem with the judiciary, but still cases are being taken to the judiciary.
But not on electoral basis anymore.
Okay,
because
let's hear from this person again and move on quick. Hello. Okay, Mambo. All right.
Well, I think it is a responsibility of the media, whether you are excited or not. Whenever you hear something that's very important for the public, it is your own place to go in and take the information and bring it back to us. Whether you are invited or not, I think this is the time you have to do your job. To commend you for that, I think you have to go in and bring this information to us so that we can clear our mind and all the doubts we have in our mind about this particular information. Because it is kept to the government circle. But if you can go in there and take it for us, then you are doing your job. I think that's what you are supposed to do. Now, about the $1.5 million, I think it has started yielding fruit because it has created some amount of decorum in the system. So So therefore, we have to commend the international community for that. And that money was meant for that purpose. If government wants to spend money on other things, I think government has to provide it. But this one money was spent by international community just for that purpose. I think it was meant for that, not for any other purpose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mambu. Thank you very much.
I was
So
on-
we have to focus on these recommendations now, whether really, if well implemented, they will have to change the narrative in terms of our electoral laws, our electoral processes, because over time we really have been having laws. Take, for instance, we have the 2022 Public Elections Act. Even 2023, I think some amendments were made.
Yeah.
2002, we had some, there have been some amendments regarding our electoral laws. But then maybe the good part of this is that these recommendations, according to the TOR, should be actionable and implementable. Maybe that would actually help to sort out.
Yeah, I was on the U.S. ambassador. Sorry,
Go on,
before
go on.
you stream in, a quick one, because you mentioned the U.S. ambassador, and he is diplomatic, and it's a high level of diplomacy on international politics and our global politics they are playing. And you mentioned him, and also the caller on the the international community, their role. Is interviewed. The previous one, that was at 98.1, and quite recently another one, I think was on AYV.
Yes.
Yes, he said on the MCC Compact recommendations of the tripartites, I will quote him directly, Elections Review Commission will put on, it has to do with the report itself, comprehensive report. One, it talked about legislation, 2 areas, constitutional changes that are necessary to ensure that the various, it has to do with diffusion or whatsoever that were identified in the 2023 elections, 2018 elections, the 2012 elections do not represent, repeat themselves. That is it. And he said, we are hoping that the committee will make recommendations as to how the government will move forward with accountability for the incidences that took place during the 2023 election specifically. For on the 2023 elections, that the government implements the recommendations from the reports, which will involve the 4 parliamentary opposition. Then he said, then the U.S. will move forward in signing the MCC Compact. So the recommendations here, they are brilliantly done. It's good for the nation to move forward. My colleague mentioned here that we have to go back to the Constitution, whether a referendum, so that it doesn't conflict.
Conflict with it.
Yes, with what we have. But again, it's tied on the MCC Compact. It has to do with, diplomacy in ensuring that the government implements the recommendations, up to 80 recommendations, including the 2023 multi-tier elections that required the ECSL to produce credible data and vital information, including the disaggregated data, is important.
Sorry, are we doing this? You continue, just sorry to interrupt you. Are we doing this so we get the 480 million from the MCC? Then later, coming to 2028, we started seeing loopholes in this recommendation? Or are we doing it for a sustainable nation? Because from what I've been seeing all this while, we are doing it, all this frustration is about receiving the 480 million. You understand?
Yes, and we are tied to it.
Yes, we are tied to it. Then later, now we want to please the international community, the American government, you understand? Then later, we start seeing, people start to understand that this is for just SLPP and APC. We start seeing the loopholes. We need to think beyond the 480 million. Let's go back to this. Give it to the public, for the public to understand what are these 80 recommendations, how it will benefit the nation, not through political party. Otherwise, we'll sign this, the government will put it into law, it go into the gazette, and then after the 480 million in, MCC money, come 2028, we started fighting over mishap of what is written in the 80
So Musa,
Yes, Barry.
we have a responsibility, even though we are journalists, to be critical, to bring out issues, but also have the responsibility to maintain the right temperature of the country.
Yeah.
It's very important. It's our duty also to ensure that we maintain the temperature, not to inflame situation. So I will tell you, America will always be America. They are the world's policemen. They back the Salon government to the corner. You not do this, that money need to come. And Salon government not enough for that this money not be come. But I'll also tell you that I've engaged the ambassador on this. So the $480 million, it's not really coming like in bulk and can put on a government account. No. In fact, it is going to be a private sector, government, American government-led aspect. In fact, if you look at the money where they break and down, which I have the figures, there is a particular aspect that has to do with really, in fact, they are going to bring their own consultants in failure. So not only they go put on a government account. So American government said then get their own skepticism about Salon government. Go give $480 million to Salon government. And they chop all and give you explanation again. But for me, aside from the money and all other things, let's pay attention to the bigger picture here, which I think, if you look at the recommendation, and this is where the if is, and I hope, if you have the political will to implement these things, will they solve a problem we can by election. So, for example, the ECSL, they tell you, say, another part of the law. Another part of the law say, therefore, publish disaggregated data. But no longer anybody stop people from following the law. So, no longer they, by the Elections Act, we say, if you publish them, but no longer they for stop you. And in law, there's morality also, because elections is about transparency and accountability. So for me, if you really take an institution where very transparent and open, if not only we force you for doing, not only for not force you for doing, why did you do it? For just clarify some of the issues if you have nothing to hide. And Alex, before you comment, so these are the aspects you have to look at into also. So for me, they're now recommending that okay, for that ECSL, you don't loopholes, when me no longer for force me. And again, what are disaggregated data really? Let's make it simple for people to be not forget about big English. Disaggregated data are really now vote them when they're in a polling station. Where it in a region, it in a district, take out to the National Rally Center. So for example, you must I go vote now Ward 426. I go na the station, as he say, look the vote entirety. And disaggregated data, it come from RRF form. And the law say RRF form available to all the political parties. So when they make a photocopy them, then get APC, then get SLPP, then get RFP, so they all get that RRF form there. So even you as a political party, you can even sit down and compute your data based on that RRF form there. So what 230, I don't say 100 people vote, my party get 30 votes. You didn't register. You just disaggregate and get the order figure. If you really put your house in order, you don't get the result even before the ECSL. But again also, the ECSL get the responsibility so also and indeed when the election you don't say they publish them, they publish the result, more like quick they pull on. They pull on quick. It's more like na kuku business. Why can't I mean right now, Kiastama, you go na any website na BBC. You don't say the guy get 412 seats. Then break it down to you. Not for saying
within 5 hours.
Within a couple of hours, you don't get the result. So why can't just say and go to the ECSL website and go and say, "Oh, this is come on." Last time I vote SLPP, APC again. Pass now you go put on 1 hour they pull on down because they don't say at least publish, but they don't tell you how long before they did. So they put on 1 hour and then they put on down. So this particular recommendation is going to ensure now that ECSL will result come on even then forever. So you know not just election, but also for even analyze how voter apathy don't the poll vote. So next time you go improve on election education because a lot of vote also. How about the one that don't take part in the election and also the one that when they vote, the young people how they become interested. So you just go beyond election. You analyze them things for boku that thing for even national development. So you can also say Kenema, we get more young people that vote. Pass now anyway more women than vote. So these are the reasons why some of these things should not be kukujumuku issues. But when going forward, if we really recommend it, we put a recommendation in place. So the thing, for example, they tell you say now if you are dual citizen, you will stand as member of parliament, which is good. As MP, you want to stand you're an American citizen, but it's just a normal you know go for president as dual citizen. So you can come and stand. And also they talk about diaspora voting, which is also good.
Voting.
And also the controversial one also.
These are issues that came in 2018 elections.
So these are things that
Season have been votes. If you vote for the president,
so the Minister of Information,
we
for me,
never.
the Minister of Information and Civic Education get a lot of responsibility for popularize, for make people understand, for break it down. Because if you go to school, 500-page documents, some of the terminologies, if you're not intelligent enough,
you can forget dictionary.
Therefore, look at that. So how do you simplify so that Mami Ebo in a Taikatope, na Potloko or na Yebo go understand some of the things and they don't let you Solomon understand about apartheid. Now you go off election. That's the only thing that
because now the concept we start with. The concept we start with.
Okay, let me
again
give this
for
comment
the-
quick from
the public.
Ambassador Fode Moriba, who's viewing the program. He says, I agree with Alfie Barry. We are We are urging stakeholders to ensure that the tripartite committee's recommendations are implemented to the latter, which will enhance elections accountability in the country. So I think the focus now really as a country is that these recommendations, as bad as some people might think they are, as good as some people might also think they are, but the implementation of them I think is key now.
But I think it's not, it has to be arbitrated.
Yeah.
It's not complete yet. And I'm still on my point that for the purpose, I told line with Alfie Barry, let put this to a way that we all understand with people out there.
Okay.
That's still ECSL, the disaggregated data, what they expect from them. Not for Salon people them again. Low put this aside, but for the purpose of the committee. Because it is enshrined, it is inside our documents. Because now with that, then we're able to tell so that we're able to move forward. Now that the very reason
You know what the committee tell
for
them?
the tripartite.
ECSL tell the committee say some document they highly classified.
For this purpose, it is not.
So now they are now saying in the recommendation that disaggregated data will be classified.
They should not be using that word.
Intelligent, not like CIA with some information and
Yes.
classified.
What do you mean by classified?
Classified.
Classified information. Now the one where you put out where you feel say go endanger the security of a country.
So how did that
Now, if you are dealing with the military, then get strategy.
Let's hear from the very last caller. We're trying to round off now. Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
I don't know. The TRC, I mean, the
Tripartite
committee, the recommendations, and this constitutional review program. Yeah, we don't mix up matters here. The tripartite not mandated for make them change the constitution, or for make recommendations on certain issues then, be it administrative, legislative, electoral. And indeed, that was how they compiled their reporting and recommendation. If you listen keenly to what the chief minister was saying, he categorized them in different perspectives. And each of these entities have their policies. Somebody was talking about policies or tiers not reflecting the policy. No. Every institution has its own policy. They have their own statutory regulations that must be followed. So if you are going to change the constitution, it has to go with policies of those institutions as per ingrained or enshrined in the constitution. So this is not a one-sided something of they don't have that mandate. This is a larger than life something. People have to go to a referendum. They have to do sensitization all over the country. Political parties have to take the message running to their constituencies. So let's be very careful of how we are doing it. It is not all and sundry, with the TC. But let us realize that they have their own share to play, their own share of giving in to what is expected as a prelude to what must be recommended in the constitutional reform.
Okay. Thank you.
That was what really we are working on.
Thank you very much.
Taking it on board, running with it, and that this is it. No. Let's be careful how we do our assessment.
Thank you. Thank you very.
Down on what must.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're running off now, and we just have a few more statements now to be made. I mean, running off statements. But quickly, there is a recommendation that has to do with, I think it's 53, that it has to be now 50% plus one votes, for a presidential candidate to be declared winner. I mean, and equally 25% of the votes across the country. I mean, is that a good recommendation, actually?
Yes. Runoff. Expensive.
To avoid runoff,
very
yes.
dangerous for Salon. Because Salon election or do or die. We runoff the candidate.
And forget that 55% what they go for. It was like.
So the only thing I like by the scene when they say the 25%, if we spread, so if we get that national outlook, I like it. So for me, it's very good. It's less expensive for going to runoff, very, very difficult. Salon put that money to the use and for do other thing. So for me, it is a very good recommendation. So like I say, we will be careful. The recommendations are very good, and if they implement them, it will go a long way for really solve the issue the way camp election. So we get problem with the formation, but they don't do the recommendations. From one or two areas, then the way selfish interests come in. And they like SLP, APC, they look at their own side and then selfish interests come in. But on the whole, out of 90% of the recommendation, really, they're very good. They always enhance elections integrity. So, for example, if they tell ECSL now, say, now, for they do anything, in fact, they tell ECSL, even the recruitment process.
Yeah.
Now they say it will be diverse, not just one side and one for common. And it will be open. The process so the HR department will make long know how they recruit people. And for example, ballot box controllers, even the part-time workers, even though they look at ICSL, they will come from Bo, Kenema, McKinney, every part of the country. So it will reflect the national identity. So
Okay.
on the whole, it's a very
And
good
responsibility of the commissioners
Exactly,
also,
yeah.
a strategic level policy framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Darlington has to round off now.
For me, I hope see this 80
Now, it's more
recommendation.
pessimistic about the
Yeah,
recommendation.
yeah, because I know we don't get lost that we're very conflicting with the national constitution. We're conflicting with the 1965 Public Order Act. We can contradict we can in terms of interpretation. I don't report in a parliament for so many years. I know how this 1965 Public Order Act, the constitution, don't be conflicted with certain laws. So now if you're making any recommendation which is supposed to be implemented, which is good, you understand, by far large, you understand, you for make sure say they are not in conflict when it comes in terms of interpretation, you understand, enough for be in conflict with the national constitution. Because once it become conflicted with the national constitution, when you go to court, there you know for say this was an error. You understand? So they need to take that into consideration, say, all within the NIASU, all what is in the 80-man recommendation, the 80 recommendation, you understand, is not in conflict with the national constitution. That is good. And lastly, what I would say is this, yeah? Before they are going to sign, before this is going to become law, you understand, they need to popularize it. Let it be popularized. Let everyone understand what is in the recommendation. You understand? Because once people understand, the negative perception will lessen, you understand? And then in a national thing like this, the media should be involved 100%. Don't leave the media behind in a situation like this.
Okay, Doctor, running off now.
Yes, still on the points that for let the whole process complete, we dey continue for plead for the sake of peace, moving Sierra Leone forward to ECSL for make them continue for comply to the last point, the documents that is required of them for make the whole process complete, because without which I am afraid. So far, I don't able to go through the recommendations. They're quite in place. A fine for electoral integrity. It will reflect on waiting the people actually vote for, and it go help also electoral laws. The bad one the way them be don't go make na parliament, APCSL PP them indeed, and give so much power to ECSL. Now the same power ECSL they use and say na classified information and get I don't know who say come out, but for the purpose of the TOL, they get for produce that so that they go use them for able for assess the arbitrators are here for the claims where the APC they make say SLPP no win elections, and SLPP say then they only rely on the publication of results by ECSL say now they win. If na me self that's I go rely on. Then APC self don't tender, waiting then self don't get. So now ECSL everything did to now approve this. So the recommendations are quite in place, moving Sierra Leone forward, and for make sure that civic education they're able for publish in a language with people and able for understand, and then can use also videos and other things.
All right. Well, our eyes are keeping in touch on those stories as we look ahead what the week for what the week has for us coming up next. But this is where exactly the program Top Stories leaves you for today, and it was coming your way from Riseradiosl 96.3 FM. We have been looking at some major stories of the week as published in the newspapers in country, but also some other media platforms. So my reviewers on the program today were Dr. Alex Bangura, among other things, a geopolitical analyst, Alfie Barry, journalist and media analyst, Desmond Darlington Sola Sobo, a social commentator. Super thanks for being part of this edition of the program. Do join us again next week here, same time, same day, for another edition of the program Top Stories. Many thanks to the team, executive producer Mariam Abba, David Aspin Solomon, Themu Bangura, John S. Kroma, Moinina Brahma Kamara, and the rest of the team who actually made this happen. I have been Musa by Sise, producer and host of the program. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Keep listening to 96.3 FM, Rise Radio, and as well, coming up next at 11 will be the children's program, Picking Corner, to be followed by the sports program at 12. Do have yourself a fantastic day. Good morning.